Hi guys, so the Tory candidates delivered their final speeches to conference, and I sat through most of them. It was a pretty boring affair, but there were a few slightly interesting comments made. Now, all seemed to understand that it was necessary to be polite to each other, so there were a few examples of candidates throwing each other under a bus. But just before James Cleverly finished his speech, the former Home Secretary made two interesting points to contrast the Conservatives with Reform. Have a listen to this.
And never forget, Reform didn't deliver Brexit, we did.
Okay, are you sure you want to reinforce that point? Because there is growing support to undo Brexit. There is growing support to rejoin the European Union. Even within the Conservative Party, supporters, voters are turning their backs on Brexit. And, when you say we delivered Brexit, we're being constantly told that Brexit hasn't been delivered by Conservatives and non-Conservatives. Boris Johnson won an 80-seat majority on getting Brexit done, but people realised that was a lie. So do you really want to stand at a podium and say we delivered Brexit when there's less and less support for Brexit every day of the week? Every day that passes, there's less support for Brexit. And, going forward, as it's more and more exposed as an absolute disaster, you're going to have to back up this claim. You're going to have to defend this.
Reform didn't cut immigration, I did.
Now, he's telling the truth here, and he did succeed in bringing down immigration. But what has been the consequence? So what he's talking about is when he was last in office, he brought in a policy to reduce the possibility of people with visas taking dependents with them. And what has been the consequence of that? Well, the consequence has been the care sector not being able to get the staff it needs, the NHS not being able to get the staff it needs, and universities in England, now it's not so much a problem in other parts of the UK, but in England, universities are having to increase tuition fees because they used to be able to rely on foreign students to keep tuition fees lower. Now that's gone, they're going to have to increase tuition fees. So when you say we brought down immigration, yes, for the Conservatives, this is a massive victory. But for society, for Britain, it's a disaster.
And mark my words, we will beat Reform by being the best version of ourselves, not a pale version of anyone else. So no mergers, no deals.
So expect mergers and deals before the next general election. If the Tories say we're going to do X, then they're not going to do X. They're going to do the opposite of X. So I would imagine probably some sort of pact. There's going to be, it depends on a number of things. There's going to be a pact or some sort of agreement with Reform UK. If the Tories are going to reach out, whether Nigel Farage is willing to go and meet them is another thing. But they're going to attempt to reach out to Reform, but it depends on the results at the next by-elections. I think the by-elections are going to be a barometer on whether the Conservatives are going to move further to the right and try and do some sort of pact with Nigel Farage, or move back to the centre. Because if they start to win seats in areas where they believe they're able to challenge the Liberal Democrats, then I think they're going to move to the centre. If they think that they can win seats, or I don't know whether they can win seats where on the right, because there's always Reform UK, but if they think they can win seats on the right, then they're going to try and form some sort of pact. They may try to be a bit more dynamic, trying to come to some sort of agreement with Reform in some areas and then reject them in other areas. But look, if James Cleverly is saying there won't be a pact, you can be guaranteed that there will be. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.